A group of Sardinian farmers has staged an unusual protest, dumping thousands of litres of milk from a highway overpass. The value of sheep's milk has dropped by more than 25%. Over there, the farmers say they would rather destroy it than sell it for next to nothing.
The main contributor to milk prices in Sardinia dropping by 25% is, of course, these international trade deals that we're not allowed to see before they're signed, because they lower tariffs or get rid of tariffs. You get a flood of cheap imports from third world countries, and then it lowers the income or drives the farmers out of business, puts them onto welfare, exports down, and debt up. Now, the latest or much biggest trade deal that we've signed recently is the TPP, and of course it's very secretive. And here it is. How about showing us the TPP deal we're about to sign, because we're not allowed to see it. And that shows how bad it is for us. If it was just a little bit bad, don't show it to us and then argue the point and put spin on things and try and make it sound not as bad. But it's that bad that they just can't even show it to us. And I'll show you the part that's the worst. So on top of all the job stealing, reduction of tariffs and other things that they put in there to transfer our wealth, it's these international called investor state dispute settlements. It's where it says there it allows private corporations to bypass national courts and seek compensation from extraterritorial tribunals, that's international, if they believe a change in the law or policy has harmed their investments. So what it does is it takes away the sovereignty of the nation to make its laws, because you can make them, but the disincentive to make them is that if it affects their profits, you're going to have to compensate them. So you're virtually indemnifying their profits. Now this is further into the same article, and this is where it is going to apply already in policy that they're going to be bringing in. Read that second paragraph. If after the TPP2 is in force, a future government wants to introduce new regulations requiring mining or energy companies to reduce their carbon emissions, what do you think the first thing Labor is going to do when they get in? They're going to bring in all this carbon emission targets. It is not beyond the bounds of possibility that companies headquartered in TPP2 members might just launch cases to object. Well, they're not going to stop the emissions from coming down. It's just that if you go back to that first statement, it says they can seek compensation. So this TPP is built into it, is that the impacts, the financial impacts of reducing emissions, whether or not they need to be reduced, and reducing them in Australia doesn't matter anyway. China makes 100 times emissions, well, more, I think 1,000 times more emissions than us. But even if we went for those targets in the Paris Agreement, the people are going to have to pay for it. That's why this TPP, no one was allowed to see it or discuss it in depth in the papers, because people would have just clamoured and said, we're not signing that. But because it's already been signed, Malcolm Turnbull signed it on behalf of the Australian government, then I think it's been ratified through Parliament. That's what that was all about.